have some exciting session now, this is going to be a session on artificial intelligence for transdisciplinary education and integrated learning. So basically, what we have come now, we're kind of coming full circle, you know, from antique times, ancient nations who were like starting to specialize. There were like philosophers and scientists and people from different disciplines. But then after this specialization, we found that all knowledge is actually very closely related to one another. And especially this last advances in artificial intelligence, large language models, you can see that you ask this large language model anything you want, and it will give you some random words, which kind of actually seem reasonable, which is really strange. So it's just random words where they seem like almost like human speaking. Sometimes, you know, you have like some very rough models which give you really strange text, but then you can actually improve them. So if you ask a better prompt, you know, that's what we're going to talk also about today. And I'm very excited to share, to having shared this panel with some exciting guests. So I know that we have online, we have Piero DOMINICI, Scientific Director of CHAOS UNESCO, who is also fellow of World Academy. Can you hear us? Yes. Then we have, hello. Our second guest is going to be Mariana, BOZESAN, who is also, in addition to the fellow of World Academy, also fellow from a fellow member of the Club of Rome, and she also has done very nice work, particularly regarding finance and ethics. And then we have the next speaker is Işıl, who is founder of TeacherX, and he's going to be also here with us live. He's our guest with live. And then we also have online, we have İbrahim, KUSHCHU, founding chairman of the board of Turkish Association of Artificial Intelligence. Welcome. And the next, last but not least, is our Secretary General of the World Academy, Janani, RAMANATHAN, is joining us from India live right here. So these are our panelists, and what we are trying to address here is actually the question, how do we actually adapt to this change? You know, we have come to really full circle. First, people were doing everything. Everybody was like hunting for food and whatever they had to do for clothing, for shelter. And then they started to specialize. So one person was a philosopher, another was scientist, the next was doing food, the next was doing whatever, clothing. And now, as we're coming like almost to the end of this artificial intelligence loop. You know, you heard probably yesterday there was a news on Google quantum computer, which is 105 qubits. It's not so much. You can have bigger computers, but this one is great because it reduces the error. So as you add more qubits, the error gets smaller. And this was the biggest obstacle in this computing. But actually, there is another obstacle. This was not the only one. The next obstacle is also that you don't have algorithms. The algorithms we teach today are 30 years old or even more. They can do some interesting stuff like search disordered list, or they can find like prime numbers, but they are not of really huge practical use, at least at the moment, 100 qubits. If you increase the number of qubits, even these algorithms can be of use, but even more of use can be those algorithms that can be more innovative, that can also connect to artificial intelligence. You probably also heard that these large language models, they're trying to scale them up. So, I don't know, OpenAI is actually building $1 trillion computer, which is going to make a bigger large language model, so it's going to be smart. And what they found is actually that the scaling is not working so well as they expected. So the computer is bigger and more expensive, but it's not so much more clever than the one less expensive. So this synergy between quantum computing and artificial intelligence can actually bring you better models, which are not going to depend on trillions of dollars. but on ingenuity and on smartness of the humans. And that's why I'm actually excited here to have such a wonderful panel here. And I would like to also address this panelists to ask the question, what can you from your discipline do to make this artificial intelligence faster, better, and more ethical? And the first guest who I'm going to challenge this is our good friend Piero Dominici, Scientific Director of Chaos at UNESCO Inclusive Policy Lab. Please.
Thank you so much. In a very nice formal way, it's a great pleasure and honor participating with you in this very interesting panel. So I chose for my speech this title, Doing Things Backwards: Artificial Intelligence, Thinking and Learning. So artificial intelligence, in my opinion, the very name implies thinking. So let us ask ourselves, can AI think? And what exactly is thought? Thought, as I define, is a complex, multidimensional, emergent phenomenon, despite the current tendency to make thinking coincide with rationality. An applicable sort of rationality that must aim towards a purpose, in which thinking is confused with mere problem solving. In today's search for usefulness, in every sector, we are convinced that we are moving ever nearer to a super intelligent society. We certainly have a great expectation for these systems, and I think we need to ponder a few issues. Are we sure that AI is truly intelligent? Isn't intelligence related to the ability to think critically and outside of the box, to adapt to diverse circumstances, to create something that did not exist before? What about the capacity for reflection and for taking the time to reflect? Can that be substituted by hypervelocity? Do we now believe that velocity is a value? And is our concept of knowledge simply related, once again, to information? At a certain point, will we not basing our knowledge on the information that has been mechanistically collected, correlated, and consolidated by something that we already recognize as artificial? Are we not risking a society formed by what the famous Italian sociologist Franco Ferrarotti once defined as useful, well-informed idiots? Or, as I myself have proposed, isn't our civilization far from representing the knowledge society everyone is so fond of extolling, coming very close to being, on the contrary, a no knowledge society? Along with this risk, we must also consider the relationship of AI to education. Clearly, for me, is an extraordinary opportunity, but at the moment I see a lot of criticalities. Before even considering its impact, we need to ask ourselves, first of all, in what state do we find our education institution and process today? It is certainly paradoxical that in the midst of the impressive scientific and technological achievement of the last decades, along with the ever more pervasive interconnectedness of the hyper-technological civilization, we are witnessing a progressive lowering of the quality of education and training. This descending arrow, which undeniably derives from the crucial errors perpetrated in our schools, universities, and training programs, is inversely proportional to an increase in bureaucracy and, let us put it bluntly, empty slogan and deceptive narratives. One of the most significant errors among schools and universities today is the dismal focus on exclusively useful and or profitable studies to the detriment of those pursued through passion and curiosity. This is closely related to the ubiquitous obsession for facts, figures, statistics, results, molecules, synapses, hormones, and anything quantitative that characterize our educational processes, organization, and workplaces. In other words, what I call the tyranny of concreteness. This progressive intellectual empowerment among students, educators, and professionals, as well as among those in charge of directing our education and training institution, directly inhibits young and older minds from developing the necessary capacity for participation as active, autonomous citizens in active, independent democracy, preparing them only to mere executor of function and rules. You can think also to the experience of Hannah Arendt. Of course, is not education, but indoctrination. And where will that leave us? It is foolish to believe that there will be a select group of extraordinary thinkers who will be able to take up the reins of tomorrow's civilization. It is foolish to believe that artificial intelligence will be able to take over where human intelligence and human solidarity have failed. So another question, which take us the next question, another important question. What exactly is an artificially intelligent system? Currently, what AI appears to be, to a great extent, is a highly efficient tool for pattern recognition, imitation, and simulation. It recognizes similarities and connects correlation. It imitates human situation. It simulates scenarios, basing its models of reality on data and information that has gathered and calculated with stupefying speed. When simulating relationship with human beings, it imitates what humans say and do, but this imitation, of course, does not take place in a physical and spiritual body interacting with its environment. AI has no body, no spirits, and no environment. It simply consists of informations. AI systems and those who overestimate the capacity of AI equate, erroneously in my opinion, experience with mere information. Experience with mere information.
Thank you.
I have to conclude.
Yeah, this was really, you raised so many very important questions that we're going to address in the second round, I think. But you really raised a lot of questions and we're going to address them because they're really, really very important and crucial for understanding and also adjusting to this new world.
Okay.
Thank you very much. And
you're welcome. I can listen to you.
Yeah. Can you hear? Yes. So now we are going to continue with our second panelist. This is our friend Mariana, BOZESAN, friend from both Club of Rome and the World Academy. And everybody who knows her knows that she is very passionate about ethical finance. And now we also have the artificial intelligence to that. And I would like to challenge you to explain us how can we assure that this artificial intelligence is going to be ethical.
That's an easy question. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Well, maybe I should start with the initiative that we have launched a year ago, actually, trying to make AGI ethical. And we've even, began rewriting an AGI constitution that has been published within Cadmus. And so maybe we should have a separate session on that. And at this point, I'd like to invite everyone to join us because it should be a joint force joint effort to create an AGI constitution. But before we talk about AGI, maybe we should define what AI is and what AGI is and what ASI is, because one of the most important aspects is people don't know that LLMs did not drop out of the sky 2 years ago, and all of a sudden we are in the era of AI. It's been in the making since 1956. My Stanford professor John McCarthy gave it a name at Dartmouth, and they all thought back then that it'll come true within 10 years. But that's not the case. So they tried to copy human intelligence, and Piero named a few aspects that are extremely important that have been tried. But I must tell you that I bet my career on artificial intelligence. I studied artificial intelligence 40 years ago and developed expert systems to build chips and computers were using artificial intelligence. So I'm an artificial intelligence aficionado. I love it, and I am currently using it, as you said, Aleksander. I'm using it in developing computers, developing zero net energy, zero net food, zero net transportation, mobility, and so we can make the transition feasible. So I would like in this short, introduction to address 3 questions. One is, how can we stay ahead of the AI development? Number 2, how can the current status of AI be understood? And number 3, what is the future of artificial intelligence? And how can we ensure a beneficial AI, which is actually what we all want? So how can we stay ahead? Well, first of all, the current motto is AI or die. So those students of you who are listening to this is the reality on the ground today. So instead of learning how to program, let AI program it for you. And so you can focus on being human and what it means to be human. So LLMs or artificial intelligence, the way LLMs are not AI. It's just one small portion of AI. This is very important. There were like 4 waves of artificial intelligence. Number 1 in 1956, as I said, at Dartmouth, started by John McCarthy and others. But it took actually 30 years until 1986, when the second wave of AI, driven by neural nets, algorithms and backpropagation were launched by Geoff Hinton. And those of you who don't know, the Nobel Prizes are currently given to computer scientists. And Geoff Hinton received this year the Nobel Prize in Physics as a computer scientist for developing neural nets and multi-layer backpropagation. And then it took another 30 years until 2012, when deep reinforcement learning, the third wave of AI was brought online. So this is very, very important to notice. And those who are currently looking at AI and are afraid of it, it's going to take another while, even though, blah, blah, blah, and hallucinations are going to be very fast. But until then, AI is going to replace humans, and this is never going to happen. We are non-computable. Piero, I totally agree with you. Unless we create some cyborg, a combination between robots and biological life, I don't think that we will be able to replicate consciousness because we don't even know what consciousness is. So that's a different conversation. But one important aspect that I'd like to point out, and then we could lead to the next conversation. And please stop me, Aleksander, when I'm overcoming over my 5 minutes. The fourth wave in AI is extremely important. Was launched in 2015 through another algorithm where a human level control through deep reinforcement learning was launched based on BJ-Fogg model, the behavior model. And those of you who don't know BJ-Fogg and BJ-Fogg model, please watch the Social Dilemma movie, because you are going to see how the second force in psychology is actually being used to manipulate people. And this is a deep conversation that we should have within this. Well, the current status of AI, and Jan LeCun, one of the fathers of artificial intelligence, will tell you that narrow AI, which is how current AI is being narrow, artificial intelligence being named, is dumber than a house cat. So this is the current status that we have. And so we should not be afraid of it, except that it does manipulate us to do what they want us to buy, to clickbaits, to buy their products. So we need to be careful, and we need to grow. Current AI makes us better humans, and we need to work on that. And becoming a better human doesn't come for free. So the current AI is, it reflects the current mindset of the AI programmers. And I don't need to tell you, as a Silicon Valley girl, I've lived there 35 years. The level of consciousness of those programmers is egocentric to ethnocentric, like make America great again, make Russia great again, ego or ethnocentric. And this you find reflected in the AI. But this is not what we are. What we need right now, and you as Aleksander, as a co-fellow in the Club of Rome and many others, we need a world-centric view of the world. We need to make the transition feasible, and that requires a different mindset. And I'd like to finish with that. The future of AI has been set actually by the Habermas machine. Who have actually seen or heard about the Habermas machine? Put up your hand. If you haven't, look it up, because this is a reflection of the German philosopher Habermas, who comes from a world-centric view of the world. And this is where a lot of hope comes in. And in terms of what exists today, LLMs are hallucinating between 19% and 41% of the time. The future is not LLMs. The future is not AI. The future is quantum information science with artificial intelligence. And the systems that are coming online right now, and where all the people who are listening in transdisciplinary education need to focus on this. The future is large qualitative models where we use equations and science and physics and biology and so on to create systems who are helping us make the transition to net zero and below feasible. So we can talk about this later. I'm very passionate about this, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for this passionate description of the future that is ahead of us. And now we are going to go to one very specific topic. We have with us the TeacherX founder, Işıl ERGÜL. So please, can you join us? Oh,
I'm here.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you start with your presentation?
Yes, okay. Hello everyone, thank you so much for the invitation. So this is a very important topic, as today on complex problems need holistic solutions. Let me introduce myself first. I'm Işıl. I'm an EdTech advisor with a special focus on AI, EdTech entrepreneur, and a former university lecturer. For the past 12 years, I've been organizing EdTech Summit, where we were so lucky to have dear Irina Bokova and dear Panelists as our keynote speakers. I'm also the founder of TeacherX, a teacher training platform established with the belief of empower teachers, empower society. With TeacherX, we have supported schools we have supported teachers in enhancing their professional skills. Additionally, I'm an ambassador for Turkey for the European Training Foundation, where I also serve as the AI content leader. And I am, above all, still a learner, like we all are. And so, to begin with, I think we should be on the same page. So, AI is not a tool. It's a new dimension, as highlighted at UNESCO Digital Learning Week in September. So, AI is different from all previous technology in history because it can make decisions, which means that, we should be honest. So, AI, the use of AI is not a bed of roses. It comes with many drawbacks. So it can even become more dangerous than nuclear weapons because it can create new things, it can create new weapons, and it can make decisions independently. So this is why regulations are essential. Despite its drawbacks, we know that AI is here and we cannot ignore its potential in education. So education is a system where everything is connected, and AI opens up a new dimension, making it more effective with pattern recognition and data integration, as mentioned before. System theory explains how different parts of the systems work, just like AI shows us understand how different parts of learning are linked. In schools, subjects like math, science, and history, they are taught separately, but which makes teaching easier for the teachers, but it also limits students' understanding how these things are connected. So, for example, designing a project on space exploration, it requires a knowledge of like physics, engineering, and history as well, to understand the science behind it and to understand its impact on society. So AI bridges these gaps by helping students to learn a bigger picture. So we know that AI doesn't and won't replace teachers. So it supports them. However, educators should focus more less on creating content, more on creating meaningful learning environments and support critical thinking. So AI helps the human mind move away from dividing and separating things, which are in fact connected. And with the help of AI, teachers can also help their students see the bigger picture and to learn in a more holistic and meaningful way. Last but not least, yes, we are all talking about AI, but we should start with the problem first, not with the AI. So as teachers, we should just look at our classes and see what kind of things work, what doesn't work, and how learning can improve. So once the problems are identified, then we can just make use of AI to make learning more effective. Thank you.
Thank you for this wonderful explanation of practical application of AI in teaching. And now we have another guest online. So it's Professor İbrahim KUSHCHU from Association of Artificial Intelligence. And could you please share your thoughts with us in the first round?
Hello, hello everybody. I am in the middle of the forest in Turkey. Just to start with, I'd like to share the feelings and the passion that Mariana has really put out. I really enjoyed her speech, and I want to take her passion into another level, if she permits me. At the moment, artificial intelligence is so important, and I define artificial intelligence as a data monster, which looks for data from every sources, every discipline, every platform, every type of data like video or text or voice-based. And by collecting all this data, the AI acts as a gentle tailor. It starts to customize and it starts to provide information especially useful for educators to deliver it at the right time to the right person at the right amount. Now, this is a simple definition, but by the time we understand artificial intelligence and the related orchestrated technology working together, we will see that the challenge of AI, maybe all the presence of AI, are manifolds. If we look at artificial intelligence evolving together with other technologies such as brain-machine interfaces, such as nanobots living in our bodies and going through our blood and processing information. And if you think about IoT, especially intelligent Internet of Things, where everything can be connected to each other in an intelligent way, and then they process information and create intelligent activities, we can think of not just a centralized way of developing artificial intelligence. I think the current efforts since 60s, 50s, 60s, 90s, even now into 2020s, whatever we have developed has been very impressive. For example, we as experts of artificial intelligence have been really shocked about the developments done in the large language models. But however, with these orchestrated technologies such as Internet of Things and other platforms like augmented reality, there will be lots of there will be an important convergence, and this convergence will create a big intelligence explosion in the world. And this explosion will be a move from developing centralized systems. Traditionally, we are trying to create, for example, we are talking about, can we create a conscious machine? Actually, the idea of artificial intelligence will evolve so extreme that every animal, every object, every human, every plant will have their own intelligent embeds. I'm talking about this in my, I'm sorry, this is like self advertisement. My just book came out called The Next Waves. I'm looking at the collective artificial intelligence. So here I point out this book to you, but the ideas developed there are very important. In the future, we will see a collective artificial intelligence, not centralized AI, which aims to produce a conscious machine. There will be a consciousness in overall planets. So I share the philosopher's idea of the planet view or the holistic view of AI. When all these plants and animals and objects are connected to each other, they will perform activities for their host, and these activities will interact with each other, and it will create an intelligence that we have no idea about. This is very similar to our brain. The neurons work in our brain, they're connected to each other, and while these neurons, 100 billion neurons and 10,000 connections of each neurons, when they are talking to each other and making decisions, simple decisions, they create something called the mind. We have no idea how this is happening. And so, very similar to this, we will have all these interconnected intelligent agents of each host, plant or animal or human, an object, and they will all interact with each other, and there will be a point where we will have a form of intelligence on the planet that we have no idea of at the moment. But what is the lesson for this? The lesson, especially for the domain experts like educators, is this: please be ahead of the technology, whatever you are doing. It's so important. If you are, I mean, the co-evolution of education and artificial intelligence, it means that if we know an AI technology and still talk about the classrooms, then we are wrong. If we know about a learning method and then we are talking that, oh, let's develop an intelligent system, we are just in the early stage of adopting artificial intelligence. Therefore, domain experts has to follow the full frontiers of the technology. Just to give you an example, in 2017, we are able to teach a third person by two other people in the University of Washington in 2017. This experiment was done. Two people have taught the third person how to play a game, a video game. And they did this by not seeing each other, by not talking to each other, by not speaking to each other, but only through brain waves. They were only connected with the brain waves in different locations, and two people conversed through the brain waves, and they taught how to play that game. And so this is so important that we follow the technology. So I'm going to stop here now and look for the second round. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing with us this wonderful vision of interconnected intelligence, which is about to come or is maybe already here. And now, just as we are just stepping up, I would like to, for the last presentation, ask our dear friend Janani, the Secretary General of World Academy. So please.
Thank you, Aleksander. It was very rewarding listening to all my co-panelists. When calculators were first introduced in Indian banks in the 1970s, accountants started using it. But initially, after totaling a column of figures, they would add the numbers once again, this time mentally, just to be sure that the calculator had got it right. We are in something of a similar position now with AI in that we do use it, but with some amount of skepticism, caution, in some cases, even fear. It is more complex than the simple calculator, for sure. The instructions that the calculators followed were straightforward. AI is not so. We could predict the behavior of a calculator. We're not quite sure what happens next with AI. There is this issue of its making up information. The question of ethics and governance of AI occupy us a good deal. But there are two clear strengths that AI has over everything that has come before. One, of course, like the calculator, AI can free us from a lot of laborious, time-consuming, non-creative tasks so that we can focus on higher order skills. But unlike the simple machines, AI can support us in thinking in a completely transdisciplinary way, because it can potentially be free of our human limitations, prejudices, preferences, conditioning. It sees no silos. It has no silos to get out of. So the use of AI can aid us in our shift to a transdisciplinary and integrated way of thinking. And why is that important? Take any problem that we face today as collectively as humanity, and there is at its root this characteristic, normal human characteristic, of looking at an issue from one or a few angles, or trying to address a problem without looking at the complete picture. Now, this is what AI, among its very many capacities, can do. Help us see the complete picture. The recent committee to draft the global plastics treaty is just one recent example of how fragmented thinking is holding us back. 170 countries and 3,300 people from all these countries, they met in South Korea for a week late last month at what was to have been the conclusion of a 2-year process. But this committee was unable to develop a legally binding treaty limiting plastics. Conflicting interests, silo thinking, short-sightedness, narrow perspective, all these are what AI can help us overcome. It cannot provide us the solutions, but I believe it can point us in new directions, allowing us to develop higher order thinking and support us. And it can support us in solving problems that right now appear unsolvable because we are looking at it from one or a few angles alone. So if we know how to use it right and choose to do so. And I agree with the previous panelist, Ibrahim, when he said, in the context of education, I believe we have to begin with training educators to use AI so that the educators can focus more on becoming more creative, effective, and can offer personalized attention to youngsters. And also important is to train students to use it, not to let AI do their work for them in a way that prevents the students from developing, but so our youth can develop the transdisciplinary and higher order thinking skills. So I believe in rightly using this technology, we can definitely use it to shift to an integrated way of thinking. And we really need to do that in order to solve all the very many problems that challenge us today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Janani, for this additional perspective. And now, as we have spent actually all our time, I believe we can still allow for a couple of questions from the audience, please. While we wait for questions from the audience, perhaps we could just challenge each of our participants in the same order to say in 1 minute, one advice for educators what to do based on your original exposition. So we would start with Piero, if we may. So in 1 minute, what would be the best advice for educators based on what was explained? Yes.
Dear Aleksander, you engaged me. Did you engage me?
Oh, sorry. Yes, I was actually asking what is in 1 minute one advice?
Yeah, 1 minute, 1 minute, sir. Okay. Because I think that we have to try to solve an enormous problem that is, first of all, an epistemological and educational problem. The confusion among the complex system and complicated system. Complicated system, as you know, are the mechanism that are governed by linear interaction, and the complex system that are the organism, the living and social organism that are characterized by systemic interaction and by, first of all, the emergent properties that are those particular properties that emerge also during the evolution, the nonlinear evolution of the system. So this is an incredible epistemological challenge, first of all, for education and training institution, because we have to try to start to educate our scholars, our managers, to see objects as systems, because we are living in a world that is constituted of relation and not single object. So this is an incredible challenge also for our system of thinking. And the transdisciplinary approach is a fundamental prerequisite of this incredible challenge that we have to think to the long period.
Thank you. And now I'll ask the same question to Mariana.
Yeah, that's a very good question, Aleksander. I really appreciate it, particularly because traditionally our education system was focused on logical, mathematical, cognitive intelligence development. And now AIs are forcing us, because they're so much better at that, and we cannot longer ask people about, facts, to repeat stupid stuff that they had to memorize in order to get a good grade. Now, if we look at what intelligence is, and I kind of try to point out to it, intelligence is not one. Intelligence is not mathematical, logical, cognitive only. Intelligence is emotional, is spiritual, spiritual, emotional development, of course, moral development, ethical, it was mentioned. So I would, as if I were, I'm not a teacher, but if I were one, I would encourage people to focus on what humans are better at, much better at right now, and will never be overcome by AI. And those are all the other intelligences. And Howard Gardner from Harvard has come up with 12 lines, intelligences, interpersonal, intersubjective, interobjective, many talents. So encourage students to focus on what they are really good at, what their talents are, outside of the cognitive only blabber mouths like the AIs. That would be a very important aspect. The other one, I think, and I really am grateful to Ibrahim for mentioning it, we're not aware of the convergence of all these amazing technologies, all of which, each single one of which is exponential in growth. And people don't grasp what exponential means. We only understand linear. But now it's not just one technology that is evolving, and you name it, it's exponential. All of them are converging. For instance, in transport as a service, autonomous driving, visual, battery technology, all of that are working, driving on demand and so on, are working together to provide us the transport as a service instead of a car that is sitting 23 hours out of the 24, being not used, but pollutes the atmosphere. And so free the streets and free the cities, and so on. So all this convergence that you also find in biology, where biotechnology is converging with information technology, and biotechnology has actually overcome the growth of information technology, which is quite amazing. And so, this precision fermentation, all the new foods that are coming online, net zero and so on, which will enable us to feed ourselves, 8 billion people and growing. So these are the two things that I would like to encourage teachers to do. Thank you.
Many thanks, dear Mariana, for this wonderful encouragement. And now we move to Işıl.
You have a question? Okay.
First you and then.
Okay, question.
Yeah.
Sure, okay, great. So I think educators should develop their AI literacy skills. So this is really important. So as you know, UNESCO also announced like 2 frameworks, like AI competency framework for teachers and students. And according to Digital Education Council Global AI Student Survey, you know, like it says that like 9 out of 10 students use AI to assist with their homework, but students believe that both they and their instructors really need courses on AI literacy. So we cannot think that. So as like students, they all use AI. We cannot assume that, you know, they have this very high capacity of AI literacy. So both educators and students should like focus on developing their AI literacy, which also means that knowing when not to use AI.
Thank you. We have an additional question for Işıl from Irina Bokova.
Yes, it's very interesting, and I would like to congratulate Işıl because I know her, I would say, pioneering work, a lot of abnegation to promoting technology, and in this particular case, AI. And in continuation of this question, because you do work a lot with teachers. And my question is, how are teachers reacting to this? Does it take an effort for you? Because we know that not all teachers are skilled and not all teachers are, I would say, very enthusiastic about technology. There is a lot of, without all my due respect to teachers, but there is a lot, education system is very conservative, very difficult to move and to probably one of the most difficult to reform. So what is your perspective from that point of view? Because as you said, education is an ecosystem. It is, of course, teachers, it also parents, it is students, it is the government, the local defense. So I'm very interested in your experience from that point of view. And to Professor KUSHCHU, I was so happy to listen to your last concluding remark when you said that you always give this advice that young people should be ahead of technology. And modestly, I would say, because I also engage with students, I lead a course and I give lectures, and these are exactly my words: be ahead of technology. And I would like to ask you what it takes actually for young people, for students, to be ahead of technology.
Thank you so much for the fantastic question. So every time I just like visit schools and like train teachers, there are lots of like teachers who do not trust AI. So like for instance, like if I have another teachers like who just come to AI like training, so like I always have like 10% of teachers are resistant to use AI. And there is a like study like conducted by KUSHCHU from UCL. He realized that like AI is the #1 tool that teachers do not trust. So that's the reason why I always like advise teacher educators to like first analyze teachers like behaviors, like attitudes towards the technology. I realize that they are so open to learning, but someone they do not trust, and they also like they have this fear of AI dependency for their students. Because like I think it's just also like it's the same for me as well. Like maybe in the previous years I just used to like maybe just write something from scratch, but now I just go to AI and now I instruct and then I start editing it. I think this is not something good. So, but yes, for teachers they are open to learning, but they do not like trust AI so much, and they sometimes feel that their students are ahead of them because they are using AI. And at that time, I always tell them, okay, so the fact that they are using AI doesn't mean that they have this very high capacity of AI literacy. I always tell them they still need your guidance.
Thank you. We go back to the choruses, Professor İbrahim KUSHCHU.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Actually, my advice was to the educators more than the students. So it requires that the educators should be ahead of the technology first to be able to help with the students. But when I say educator, I feel really a bit strange because the educator of the future is not probably the educator that we are thinking of now. Therefore, the domain experts, the experts in the education sector, has to think about what kind of teacher we will have in the future. That's very important. Will it be a platform? Will it be an intelligent entity? Or I really feel strange by talking about the terms of today, about the technology that is opening us the future. But when we talk about the future, sometimes people say, we are like talking about the Hollywood movies. We are not actually, we are scientists. So all the things that we are talking here are based on actual experiments or implementations. So therefore, when we say future of the education, and it's going to be probably a platform or an interaction of the student, we don't know how the classrooms will look like. We are not aware, because we don't know all of these things. It's very difficult to talk about how to educate current students and the current educators.
Many thanks. Now I think we have another participant, Janani. Maybe you want to add something?
Thank you, Aleksander. Just to add in a minute, I believe we need to get over and enable others to get over this fear, hesitation, reservation, this fear of AI. And at a fundamental level, the fear of change. We are afraid that AI, if it gets too powerful, it will abuse that power, like in some dystopian story. But it can actually make us more human. It has that potential. And so I believe given all of the potential that there is in AI, it is up to us to use it well. Again, just like everything else in human history. Thank you.
Sorry, can I add one sentence?
Yes.
One thing that I forgot to say is, for the domain experts like educators, please work with experts who are really well educated or well experienced in AI areas. The hype is killing us. We are spending so much time to correct the hype that was created when we are trying to help like educators or other professions in other domains. Please work to be ahead of the technology. Please work with the people who are who has a great knowledge and formal knowledge of AI, for example.
Many thanks to all the panelists for wonderful contributions, beautiful vision, and above all for all this advice to educators on how to stay ahead of the technology. And so I wish that everybody can now really stay ahead of the technology and make the best use of all this AI and other tools that are about to come. Thank you, and the session is over.